Alright, so this is just a follow-up video from my last one, which was about why women remove hijab. And I think I focused a lot on, the reasons why women want to remove it. A lot of people think it's sort of like a non-issue, but from my own experience and dealing with lots of different women, I know that it's something that's quite central to a lot of women's lives, a lot of struggles. So I've been getting emails. So at the end of the video, I said, you can email me, and trust me, people did. So I had ex-Muslim and Muslim women contacting me. I had girls contacting me about hijab, and they didn't even bring up religion. Like, it doesn't even matter. The discussion was about, how they can remove hijab. And, I'm kind of doing this video because I've noticed that even though they really appreciated it and they felt like it spoke to them, they wanted to know kind of strategies. I mean, that's something that's really, the key kind of response, which is what is the strategy, And I've been working with women how to sort of create almost like game plans, like this is what we're going to do. And we sort of set a date and we work around it. So I have put together 7 strategies or ways to take off your hijab. So I used to wear a headscarf and a long abaya to my feet, which is that dress. The first thing that I did was remove that. So I got up in the morning, went out with my friends and just ran out of the house before anyone could see me. I was wearing a black hijab and a white and black dress and leggings and a cardigan. And that caused a bit of a storm when I came home. It was a bit of like, whoa, and no one seen me dressed that way. And I was like 19 years old. It wasn't like I was a little girl or anything. And over the next couple of months, I started doing things like, I really didn't want to wear it, but no one was giving me permission to remove it. And that's often what girls are waiting for. They're waiting for someone like their mom or someone to say, okay, if you want to remove it, it's fine. We're not going to do anything. But a lot of the times you're not going to get permission, because if you were going to get permission, it wouldn't be so stressful to take it off anyway. So, I basically started going out without my hijab around my friends, and still wearing it around my parents. And then I just sort of one day kind of plucked up the nerve to take it off in front of my parents. But I had gone through so many different stages, some of which I'm going to obviously mention in my sort of 7-part strategy. But the first time that I ever removed it, I left my house knowing that I was going to take it off. I had made up my mind about it, and I essentially just left my house and walked around the corner until I was on a sort of bend, and I wasn't even far away from the house. But I just remember just pulling the pin out of my hijab and taking it off. And I think for a lot of girls, it's that first initial, that just taking it off for the first time it's a bit similar to jumping into really cold water or getting onto a ride. It's just that initial adrenaline rush of just doing it for the first time. The first strategy I would say is find allies. Whether that's in your family, with your friends, at school, find people that you can speak to who will understand what you're going through. So don't necessarily bottle it up. I always recommend finding people online, but finding people within your own family, whether it's a sister or an auntie or somebody who you can speak to, is really, really valuable. I'm sure within your own community there will be people who have taken it off. So, maybe try to appeal to those people. I mean, those people, especially if they're family members, can be quite useful for later on in terms of intervention. A lot of the times parents are really worried about you removing your hijab because of what other people will say. But now you've got a family member coming into the situation, willing to kind of stand, on your side. That might, change and affect the way that they see the entire situation. So speak to people, find an ally, and, allow yourself to not bottle it up. Allow yourself to actually discuss it with people. The second approach is what I call the turban approach. Essentially, it's the slow burner. It's getting people around you used to the fact that you're not going to wear it anymore. I mean, often, you would take your hijab off and people would be like, whoa, like they never expect you to do it. If you don't want to go down that route of just removing it straight away because it's worrying for you or it's scary, try the slow burner. So what that means is, if you've always worn black, start wearing colours. If you've always worn colours, start maybe showing a bit of your neck or make it a bit looser, or start, protruding earrings from the corner or something. And then, wear like a little turban so only your hair is showing. And then that way everyone's kind of got used to the fact that you're going through different changes. The third approach I would say is not everybody believes that hijab is compulsory. So if you want to actually argue it out with your family, even if you're an ex-Muslim, you're an atheist, but if you want to actually argue it out with your parents, one of the best things you can do is find feminist or liberal Muslim interpretations about hijab that don't believe it's even necessary. So for some people, the hijab in the Quran, when it refers to it, is either like more of a metaphorical hijab rather than a physical one, or they may have believed that those verses were only for the Prophet's wives. So you can kind of find those verses. There's people like Mona al-Tahawi as well who are prominent Muslim feminists who don't wear hijab, and I think you can use that as an example to build upon, an example to sort of leverage with your parents and your family around you. And I keep referring to only parents, but of course it's bigger than that. You might have a husband who's really difficult to deal with as well. So whoever it is you're actually dealing with. The fourth strategy is much wider. This is for girls whose parents are, or families, or husband, or communities are very repressive. If you come from an environment where everything you do, whether it's what you wear, what you eat, what you think, what you drink, who you speak to, is controlled by other people, then you need to think about perhaps finding ways to get out. And by that, I mean, you may not be able to actually remove hijab whilst you're living there. If you're living with parents who are not going to let you get through the day, they're not going to let you go to school, they're not going to let you go to university because you want to remove hijab because they get concerned about you now being extremely sexually available, if that's what they think in their minds, then I would recommend finding ways to get out and make yourself independent. And that can be done in different ways. Education is your friend. So make sure that you work hard at school, because once you have those grades, you're able to, perhaps leave school to go to university, or you may find it easier to find a job. Even if finding a job, even if that means not earning that much money, if it gives you your independence, then, work towards that. Obviously, if you're in an environment where you are afraid of any form of violence or abuse because of honor codes, then there's women's organizations out there. Speak to the police, make sure your school knows what's going on so that you're not kept in the dark, and don't be afraid of reaching out and speaking to other people about it in those kind of circumstances. So, practice caution and pick your moment correctly if you are going to remove it. If your parents or anyone in your family has a history of violence, then I would recommend trying to move from that environment before removing your hijab, because it can sometimes work as a catalyst for kind of harm done to you. So just be careful if you're in that kind of situation. The fifth strategy is just take it off. That sounds simple.